Hi everyone, my name's Sandra and today is all about downward facing dog. This is probably the most common pose you'll find in a hatha or vinyasa class, but most of you will remember trying downward dog for the first time and realizing how difficult this pose actually is. That's because it takes quite a lot of strength in your shoulders and forearms and lots of flexibility through the backs of the legs. So let's get into the shape and talk a little bit about some of the things that you can pay attention to as you make your way into downward dog. So you'll often hear this shape referred to as an upside down V. So you can see how that looks like a V upside down. And I like to start by thinking about my foundation. So where my hands are, where my feet are. And I like to make sure that my hands are shoulder distance apart with my 10 fingers spread. And then I begin to ground down into the index knuckle especially as I press the ground away and grip the ground with my fingers. From here, I like to make sure that my head is away from my shoulders and that I'm trying to draw my forearms towards one another and at the same time spread my shoulders across my back. Then I like to think about the line of energy going up through the spine all the way to where the tailbone is. And then I like to think about what my legs are doing. Now, if your heels aren't touching the ground, and if you're new to yoga, they probably aren't, then you can begin to bend your knees slightly and then work on lengthening through your spine, sending the tailbone a little bit higher up towards the spine, eventually one day bringing those heels down towards the ground. And you'll feel a nice stretch through the backs of the legs, into the hamstrings, and try to relax and settle here. One other thing I'd really like to pay attention to is what the ribs are doing. Sometimes you will notice if you're really open through the chest, you'll begin to dump here and arch the back. And that's actually taking the pressure off of your hands and then dumping it into the ribs. So instead of that, think about protracting the shoulders and keeping a nice strong spine without those ribs flaring out. Breathe deeply here for a few breaths. And lower down into child's pose to relax. And just so you know, downward dog does take several years of practice until it feels like a resting posture. But it's also a great way to move in and out of different transitions, and the most common one you'll probably start with is Sun Salutation A. So I'm just going to demo what that looks like coming to the top of your mat. I like to start with my feet together and about an inch between my heels, and then lift the arms overhead on an inhale breath. On an exhale, begin to bow forward, hands to the ground. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, plant your palms and step back into plank pose, or you can jump your way back there, squeezing the belly in, shift the weight forward, lower half or all the way down to chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. In up dog, thighs off the ground. Exhale over the toes, downward facing dog. There we are once again. Take at least 3 breaths here in downward facing dog. Remembering all of our points of contact, the spine, the ribs. And then looking forward, come on your toes, bend your knees, step or hop to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise, arms overhead. Exhale, hands meet back at heart. So that's a Sun Salutation A. In the middle part there, the vinyasa flow is something that you'd see often through a vinyasa class. I'm just going to show one more variation that I've been working on, inspired by Patrick Beach. A little bit different here. So I'll start in downward facing dog. Now as I come to the top of the mat, I'm going to jump my way there into a yoga squat, slowing myself down as much as possible. Hands to the heart. On my inhale, lift up. Exhale, right back down, hands under shoulders, as slow as possible. press up into plank. Send your weight back and then roll through the arms into your cobra or up dog. Exhale your way back, downward facing dog. So those are a few variations to try in your downward dog, and I hope that you enjoy your journey. Namaste.